Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, let's jump right in. We've got a really interesting set of notes here sent in by one of you, our listeners.
Yeah, this looks great. It's detailing a very personal journey, isn't it? A 6-year look back at health management.
Exactly. And the source material itself, it's reading notes from a book called A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure, Blood Sugar, and Blood Lipids. Pretty comprehensive stuff.
Right. And what's so useful here is how our contributor lays out not just what the advice is, but the real struggle with, well, actually doing it.
That's our mission today, really,
Yeah.
to unpack the core ideas of the DIHA, that's Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension, which this listener, let's call them Ang, realized they really needed to get back to.
Mm-hmm. Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension, a well-established plan.
Yeah, and here's the kicker, the part that I think makes this so relatable. Ang's notes, they show awareness of DIH way back. We're talking 2018, 2019.
Wow. So years. Years of knowing about something recognized as effective.
And yet, struggling to make it stick. So this deep dive isn't just about, the nutritional details. It's about that gap, that huge, persistent gap between knowing what's healthy and actually day-to-day making it happen.
That gap is, I think, the core story for so many people. Health advice feels like one thing, but living it, that's the real marathon.
Definitely.
So let's maybe start with Ang's reasons for revisiting DAH now, because the context here is serious, right? We're talking about managing those 3 highs.
Right, the trifecta. Hypertension, high blood pressure, hyperglycemia, high blood sugar, and hyperlipidemia, that's high blood fats, like cholesterol.
Yeah, serious interconnected risks for long-term health. It's not like Ang was doing nothing, though, according to the notes.
No, not at all. The notes show they were definitely trying. They'd implemented intermittent fasting, making some general diet changes.
Which are good steps. Intermittent fasting, adjusting your eating schedule, that can certainly help. Lots of benefits there.
Sure.
But it seems Ang had a realization those broader efforts, maybe they weren't specific enough.
Yeah, that seems to be it.
Like intermittent fasting might help with blood sugar, maybe weight, but it doesn't automatically target the specific mineral balance or the types of fat that really drive blood pressure or lipid issues.
Okay, so it's like using a wide brush when maybe a finer tool was needed. Ang realized that to really tackle all 3 highs, especially the hypertension part, they needed something more targeted.
Exactly. They needed the blueprint specifically designed for that job, and that's DASH.
Back to the fundamentals.
Sometimes you just have to, Despite whatever else you're doing, sometimes you need to revisit that proven foundational method. The lesson here for you, listening, is maybe not to assume that one effort cancels out the need for another, more specific strategy.
Right. Or maybe just admitting that the first try didn't quite work and it's okay to need a more rigorous restart. Ang's notes really show that vulnerability.
It's a powerful reflection, and I think understanding why it might have been hard to implement back then means looking at what DASH actually asks for.
Okay, yeah. Let's get into the weeds a bit, because it's not just eat healthy, is it? It's quite specific.
Very. It's a structured dietary model. Let's break down the core principles as Ang laid them out from the source.
All right. So DASH, Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension.
It's built around 3 main nutritional shifts. The first one is all about restriction, what you need to cut back on meticulously.
Okay. Principle 1, fats, but specific fats.
Exactly. The diet demands foods that are explicitly low in saturated and trans fats.
And Ang added a critical note here, didn't they?
They did. The instruction was always check the ingredients.
Why is that so key? Seems obvious, maybe.
Well, it's because these fats, particularly in our modern food system, are often hidden. You find them in baked goods, processed snacks, restaurant meals, places you might not even suspect.
Right. It's not just the obvious stuff like butter or fatty meat.
Precisely. And that constant vigilance, that label reading, that's tough.
I can absolutely see how that becomes exhausting. That ingredient checking mandate, as you called it, feels like a huge barrier. Maybe that explains the struggle Ang had years ago.
Yeah.
It's a constant mental effort.
It's a significant implementation challenge, no doubt. But DAH isn't just about taking things away. Principle 2 flips that. It's about what you need to actively increase: nutrient density.
Okay, so what are we boosting?
The diet requires being rich in 5 key things: potassium, calcium, magnesium, fiber, and protein.
Potassium, calcium, magnesium, those are minerals, electrolytes.
Exactly. And they're not just generally good for you. They play direct roles in regulating blood pressure. They're crucial for muscle function, nerves, and importantly, they help counterbalance sodium's effects.
Counterbalance sodium. How does that work?
Well, think of potassium and magnesium, especially, as helping your kidneys flush out excess sodium. So when you increase your intake of these minerals, your efforts to lower sodium, which we'll get to, become much more effective. It's like teamwork inside your body.
Okay, that makes sense. So practically speaking, for Ang, or anyone listening, where do you find these? What foods pack these punches?
The focus is really on whole, unprocessed foods. For potassium, think bananas, spinach, sweet potatoes, oranges.
Right.
Magnesium and calcium. Low-fat dairy is a good source. Also nuts, seeds, leafy greens like kale.
Okay.
Fiber comes along naturally with whole grains, beans, fruits, vegetables. And lean protein poultry, fish, legumes. It's a definite shift away from processed, packaged stuff towards, well, real food.
So restrict the bad fats, load up on these key minerals and fiber and protein. That brings us to the third principle, which feels like the defining one for DSH.
Absolutely. Principle 3, sodium control. This is central to the Stop Hypertension goal.
Again, it's specific, isn't it? Not just less salt.
Very specific. The notes are clear. The lower in sodium requirement isn't vague. It means keeping daily intake between 1,500 and 2,300 milligrams. That's the target range.
Yeah, hold on. 2,300 milligrams a day? That's already tough for many people. That's like, what, 1 teaspoon of salt total?
Roughly, yes. The recommended upper limit for the general population.
But aiming for 1,500 milligrams,
Yeah.
which I know is often recommended in DHH for a stronger effect, that sounds almost impossible with typical foods available. Is Ang really aiming for 1,500?
That's the goal for the maximum therapeutic benefit, yes. And you're right, that 1,500 milligram target, that is a massive implementation cliff. It's likely a huge reason why Ang and many others struggle.
Give us some perspective. How quickly does that add up?
Oh, incredibly fast. A single slice of pizza, a typical fast food meal, even many canned soup or sauces can easily blow through half or even more of that 1,500 milligram limit in just one go.
Wow. Okay. So hitting that target consistently means you basically have to become a full-time food investigator.
Pretty much. It's not just about ditching the salt shaker on the table. That's the easy part.
Right. It's the hidden sodium.
Exactly. The notes emphasize checking ingredients, and that's where you find it. Canned vegetables, unless they're low sodium or rinsed really well. Processed meats like deli meats or sausages.
Condiments too, I bet.
Yeah.
Soy sauce, dressings.
Huge sources. Bottled dressings, ketchup, soy sauce, pickles, plus almost all prepared or boxed meals, frozen dinners, restaurant food. It requires extreme vigilance. This strict sodium control is non-negotiable if the goal is really stopping hypertension.
Okay. So let's just tie these 3 principles together. Low saturated trans fats, high potassium, calcium, magnesium, fiber, protein, and strictly controlled sodium between 1,500 and 2,300 milligrams. That's the DASH blueprint.
That's the core of it.
Now, Ang's goal, remember, was tackling the 3 highs: pressure, sugar, and lipids. How does this plan, primarily focused on hypertension, help with the other 2?
That's where the elegance of the DHH diet really shines. It's often described as a systemic fix. Think about it. To meet the low sodium and low bad fat goals, principles 1 and 3, what do you have to cut out?
Processed foods mostly. Fast food, packaged snacks.
Exactly. And those same foods are often loaded with refined carbohydrates and added sugars, right? They use sugar for flavor, especially when fat or salt is reduced.
Okay, right.
So by cutting those processed items to control sodium and fat, you indirectly slash your intake of refined carbs and sugars, and that directly benefits blood sugar control.
I see. And the lipids. The cholesterol.
Well, 2 things happen there. First, you're swapping out saturated and trans fats for healthier options, maybe unsaturated fats from nuts or oils, which improves your cholesterol ratio, the HDL versus LDL balance.
Okay.
And second, remember principle 2, boosting fiber intake.
Yeah?
High fiber intake, especially soluble fiber from things like oats, beans, and certain fruits, actively helps lower cholesterol by binding to it in the digestive system.
So by rigorously following the plan for blood pressure.
And gets significant bonus benefits for blood sugar and blood lipids, too. It addresses the whole trifecta, even though its main target is hypertension. It's quite holistic.
That definitely makes the effort seem more worthwhile then.
Mm-hmm.
It explains why Ang, after trying other things, is circling back to this foundational approach. So what's next for Ang based on these notes, and what does that mean for us listening?
Well, the notes wrap up by mentioning Ang's next step, diving into the actual daily dietary plan for DHH, how to put these principles into practice meal by meal.
Okay. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because knowing the rules, low fat, high minerals, low salt, that's one thing. That's the what.
Right.
But translating that into breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, day after day, week after week, while staying under that incredibly tight sodium limit. That's the how. And that's usually where things fall apart, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's the implementation battlefield. Knowing the ingredients is step one. Knowing how to consistently cook and combine them affordably and sustainably without making yourself miserable. That's step two. And it seems that's Ang's focus now.
Yeah, nailing down the practical execution.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's quickly summarize the key takeaways from Ang's reflections for everyone listening. If you're looking at the DASH diet as a foundational approach,
3 core pillars to remember. First, disciplined restriction. Seriously limit foods high in saturated and trans fats. Become that ingredient detective. Second, active enhancement. Load up on foods rich in potassium, calcium, magnesium, fiber, and protein. Think whole foods, the body's internal regulatory crew.
and third, non-negotiable control. Stick to that strict sodium limit. Really aim for that 1,500 to 2,300 milligram daily range. That precision is key.
Okay. So here's a final thought for you to maybe reflect on, building directly from Ang's 6-year journey that we just discussed. Ang knew about DIH, knew it was potentially beneficial for years before feeling ready or able to really commit. So ask yourself, if there's something you know is good for you, you could be a diet like DAH, could be an exercise plan, a financial strategy, anything. What are the specific real-world barriers stopping you from doing it right now?
Yeah, what's the roadblock? Is it lack of information? Not really if you know it's beneficial. Is it time? Money? Or is it, perhaps, that mental exhaustion, that constant vigilance we talked about with sodium that feels overwhelming?
Pinpointing that gap between knowing and doing in your own life, that self-reflection might just be the most crucial first step towards making a change actually stick. A really valuable point to end on.
Indeed. Well, thank you again to Ang for sharing these very honest and insightful notes with us for this deep dive.
Yes, thank you. It was really illuminating.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.